Well, good morning. This video is about the type of understanding of the 100-year events, in particular a 100-year flood event. Sarasota has a lot of good reasons to live here, but lately, the last couple of years, the quality of life seems to have degraded considerably. You can't get anywhere. Even in the summer, the highways come to a dead stop sometimes for hours with accidents through Sarasota County. Obviously, the highway system is beyond capacity now, but this in particular has to do with flooding and just bringing an awareness to where you live. We're right in downtown Sarasota, and this is my little house here, and we are surrounded by really nice trees. The thing is, we also have routine hurricanes these days. The last one came directly over the house. We survived okay. You have to be ready for these things when you live in Sarasota. One of the things that you would expect is your county is maintaining and preparing and requiring certain not only structural standards, but also standards for evacuation and standards for future development preparation so that you can get out of Sarasota, which I don't think you can anymore if you wait too long. But anyhow, it's also up to the homeowner to be aware of what's going on and to come to an understanding of what is a 100-year event. And this isn't just a fault of Sarasota. Pretty much nobody understands the definition of a 100-year event. The way that they look at it is, well, it's never going to happen again. And that primarily is held by real estate people. Oh, well, it's a 100-year event. Well, not in your lifetime. They don't understand that a 100-year event is an actuarial number. In other words, there's no 100-year event happening if in fact if there's no development in the area. So a 100-year event doesn't look at least in flooding for sure, it does not intend to look at a 100-year weather history. It's looking at the amount of impact that a 100-year event would have on a 30-year mortgage. So the flood maps and everything else that are built are collecting data in the area over that assess risk. So if there's no actuarial risk to a house, there's no 100-year event standard put in place. And that's what the 100-year events were all about. What's the actuarial risk? And of course now the actuarial risk continues to increase the more that you put population in harm's way. And one of the things, I'm going to sidetrack a lot, I do that, I wander. One of the things that I realized with the hurricanes is that all these beautiful trees around our house are capable of landing on your house. So as a homeowner, my insurance has gone so high for hurricanes that we had to drop it. There's no question we can't afford. We're on fixed income. I'm 79 years old. I'm going to be 80 soon enough. And on a fixed income of Social Security, I certainly can't afford to do all the things I need to do. But and now in Florida, I can't afford flood insurance, and I can't afford. I can afford homeowners insurance, but I can't afford the hurricane rider, which went up into the thousands on our house. So there's things we can do. One of them, cut your trees back. It's going to cost you a few $1,000s, but here's what I did here. These trees were big, beautiful trees, and they all hung over the house. So recently, you'll see here's the roof of the house, and there is the area where we've cut all the branches back. And of course, an arborist is like, oh, you know, you're going to kill the trees. Well, better kill the tree at this point that was planted by somebody else too close to the house, if in fact it's going to die from too much trimming, but better to trim it back or get rid of it altogether. And I didn't want to get rid of it altogether, so we chose to trim our trees back. Now I have lopsided trees everywhere, but away from the house, which might function two ways. The trees tend to break and fall in the direction that they're heaviest, and these are big trees. So here's the house, and you'll see I've cleared all the tree branches away from the house all the way around. Same thing over here. Huge trees in the front of the house, all capable of crushing the house. They've all been trimmed back.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Richard. Huh? Well, he kept just jerking on it. Wait. Oh, did he? Huh? No. There's that whole branch going over that shed. You can't reach. Yeah. You see that one branch that goes off the corner? Good job, Ray. Thank you.
Nice.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, and we've got another low that's going to stall out. Supposedly it's not going to be too bad of a low, but in 1992 I lost everything we had. My business, my house, my cars, our clothing, everything was gone in an area that didn't require flood insurance when it was built, or even an acknowledgement of it. That's since been corrected by new maps, but everybody, I don't know, 130, 140 houses in Colonial Gables were flooded, and everybody lost everything there pretty much, and about half of the area that got flooded, the people had no insurance for flood, no coverage whatsoever. And the reason is, when I bought that house, there was no mention of flood insurance. I didn't even know I was in a flood zone, because the only thing that was in existence then was a riverine study done by, I guess it was called Smalley Welford. And the riverine study, of course, showed that that area constantly flooded, and to what depth. But in Sarasota County, with the county not doing its job, they allowed that entire area to develop. And the thing is that if there's no study, and it's not listed as being in a flood zone because there's no actuarial risk, the world doesn't go around and say, oh, well, this is going to be a 100-year event here if there's no house there. It's not until after they build houses, in a lot of cases, that they finally realize that they have once again built houses in areas where cows have drowned in the past. And so that's one of the flaws of the system. Now we seem to be ignoring the flood risks once again in Sarasota County. And there doesn't seem to be any understanding, once again, of building and maintaining the idea that the 100-year flood happens not every 100 years, not once in 100 years. By definition, it is a flood that does not exceed itself during the same calendar year, except once in 100 years. So it used to be called the flood of reasonable expectancy, but then they got this stupid 100-year thing, and now they're talking about, well, we just had the 1,000-year event. We had the 1,000-year event in downtown Sarasota a couple years ago. It's bullshit. That's all it is to it. It's a bad definition, but it is a flood that does not exceed itself during the same calendar year. That's the beginning of the statistical probabilities. So you can have a 100-year flood every year, and how many times it's actually going to come back, it's called the recurrence level. There's always a recurrence statistic built into the 100-year flood, 100-year fire statistic, and that particular statistic is part of the 100-year event definition. So how many times does it meet such an event that it won't happen twice during the same calendar year, and in fact during the period, a 30-year period of most mortgages is what they're looking at actuarially. They're not looking at did it flood here to this extent when the Mayflower hit? Let's call it the 1,000-year flood because we know how much it flooded and how much things burnt down during the foundation of the country. These statistics are collected over events during the calendar years of areas that have developed, that have an actuarial risk for the insurance companies. They didn't develop them to protect people. The best ones that protected themselves in the past were railroads. Railroad bridges, railroad tracks through different areas were almost always built above flood levels. So then the idea of what the land is likely to do, even when there's no development, is pretty much the railroads to keep their rail cars safe. But counties that are developing and continuing to overdevelop now, they don't look at this. They look at the developer that's in front of them and then declare everyone who wants to try to safely develop their property and expansion and keep people safe on the highways that are overcrowded now. Those people are all the enemy of development, and those must be rabid environmentalists. And in hearings in 1992, I was told that I don't understand, that I'm afraid of things that I don't understand. And what I told one of the county commissioners then is I understand one thing, and that's that I can piss on my foot and water runs downhill. And that's I'm going to stop here for a second, and I'm going to get in my car, and we're going to take a look around at the current conditions of maintenance here. We're in a drought. We've been in a 20-year drought. The county's got no awareness of flooding any longer. This will give you an idea. This is the first time in 20 years right now where this little canal, it's a ditch actually, it's a drainage area that was created, and you can see across the street the levels that this canal is usually at. And right now you can't even navigate down it to take care of the duckweed that's here, and we've got like nothing in here. It's all, oh, hello. Sorry, this is my little buddy. Look at him. Hi. Are you guys hungry today? And there's the offspring. I just saw the offspring. There he is, right down here. Oh, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. Where are you? It's a very small camera here. It's hard for me to find where the little guy's at. He's here. Maybe. Oh, I know. All right. So, yeah, beep, beep, beep. There you go. He's somewhere down there. Probably the camera's getting it, but I'm not seeing it in my little tiny screen here. I think that's him there. That's the baby. All right, so let me talk to him for a minute here. Hello. How are you? It's a moorhen. Are you hungry? Come on, let's go. Come on. Come on. Hurry up. We're here. We're here. Come on. Let me go backwards, walk backwards. I'm letting my grass grow to seed because we haven't had any rain for quite a while here. No significant rain. So I stopped cutting my grass because it needs all the help it can get. Otherwise I have to water it like crazy, and we're under water restrictions and fire restrictions and everything else right now. But let's see. Are you coming? Hurry up. Come on. Hurry up. I see you. Well, Mary Beth will be happy because we were wondering, we haven't seen the moorhens in all this heat wave. The moorhens have been hiding. So anyhow, this is funny. Mary Beth, we've got a visitor. Yeah. Well, there's Mommy. Right there. You are coming. And your baby's going to follow. I think that might be the baby right there. Baby's getting big. There you go. There's the little baby. Are y'all coming? Come on. There they are. They know I'm out here. Hello. It's Mommy and baby right there.
Look who you are. You're very big now. Yeah. You're very big. Wow, you're almost as big as your mommy. Oops. No, you're not. Oh, there we go. Oh, you both got a piece. Good for you.
Oh, look, the baby's feeding himself now. Mommy's not feeding it.
There you go. Oh, you're going to need a big drink of water with that, huh? Hi there. Hello.
Boy, you're a noisy little baby.
There you go.
All right, so we're going to be heading out here in a minute. I want you to notice also the front trees. What we've done here is shape these and cut these trees away from the house. Hopefully. So this last one, this big tree here, got twisted during the last hurricane. And it's sick. It's got a root fungus, which we've been after. Been bleaching it and putting things into the ground, different funguses into the ground that the root fungus doesn't like, that can maybe crowd it out and keep this alive. But this thing is in trouble. The tree's leaning. Next door, he had a great big tree come right down and block the street during the last hurricane. And then on the other side, a tree got cut right in half and fell on his. He had a big camper and truck. Got completely destroyed, or not completely destroyed. The truck was totaled. The camper had to be repaired. But half of that tree, right down the middle of the tree, came down on the truck and the camper. So there's still houses from the last hurricane. So I guess it's almost 2 years now. Oh, there goes a rabbit. That have tarps on their roof that they either didn't have insurance or are still fighting with the insurance company. But here you can see basically how I shaped the trees, which, if you look here, one big branch just came down again all by itself with no storm. Over there, almost crushed their cars. But on this one here, since we don't have insurance, you can actually see how I shaped the trees. Heavy on the outside this way, so that if they come down, they come towards the street. And then you can get a better idea from the side how we've cut all the limbs and reshaped the tree away from the house. Everything that came out real far and over the roof has been removed. And we'll keep it that way. All right, so we're walking up to the Main A Canal here. This is near the interstate on Weber Street. This is the confluence of the Double A Canal and the Main A Canal. And this is part of many millions of dollars that Sarasota County spent in 1992, 1993, 1994 to control flooding in this area. And it was made to be more than 50 feet wide. And it's got two layers to it. One is the canal, and then up next to it, there's supposed to be like a roadway on both sides so that all the equipment used to keep the canal clear can drive along the entirety of the canal in this area, so you can get all the construction equipment down. And what's happened here is all the drainage canals, they stopped maintaining them. This is no maintenance here at all. And from the looks of it, it's quite a bit of no maintenance. So this is the Double A here, coming in, which this is Colonial Gables over here. And here's the AA Canal. This canal should be clear from that tree line over there all the way to the cleared grassy area over here. There's actually a step down right along in here where you're supposed to be able to run construction equipment, and it's all overgrown, so you can't even run the equipment down the canal any longer. And they're allowing this entire canal to be overgrown. And Colonial Gables actually drains into this canal. So does Center Gate, everything else. And this is unacceptable as far as I'm concerned, especially after all the money that was spent along here to widen this canal. To let it just grow in like this is unbelievable. So the only place that, you know, this should be a canal that's very wide, and you should be able to drive equipment down into a step, which you can kind of see here. A step down to be able to keep the canal clear of debris and overgrowth. And this didn't happen overnight, that this canal has all but disappeared. I mean, yeah, it could flood again, and it's sort of wide, but this is unacceptable. All the way to the whole length of it, this is going to go all the way up to the interstate here. It's not been maintained. And there's, you know, I mean, there's a history of this entire neighborhood going underwater. And it apparently doesn't matter anymore. 2 years ago, it flooded, and it never should have. And the reason it never should have is on the other side of the interstate, they have spent millions of dollars. There used to be a farm there, the Celery Fields Farm, and then we had the Celery Fields Project. I don't know, $6-8 million to buy the farm and dig a hole there that's supposed to be protection for flooding. And there's supposed to be like control devices in there, so that if there's, I don't know what the exact plan was, but they have these little dams that you can open and close and lower and manage the water that's backing up in that area on the other side of the interstate, the east side of the interstate. And I don't think, if they don't know enough to keep these ditches, the main A that goes into Philippi Creek, if they don't know enough to keep that running or whatever. I mean, these bridges were all brand new here with plenty of underpass for flood water. And then you know, you have hundreds and hundreds of homes in there that are going to flood again if this isn't taken care of. They can't drain to begin with. And getting the water out at the beginning of a storm is really where it's at to control flooding. Because after a while, the ditch itself will fill up with water, and then it backfeeds into Colonial Gables. Because Colonial Gables was one of those places that was allowed to be developed in the 60s, where they knew damn well that the area flooded. And in fact, the county commission in the 60s turned it down, I believe, 3 times, until a more powerful developer and a group of pretty much bagmen managed to convince the county commissioners back then that it'd be a good idea to put people in harm's way, as long as they all made money. So here's another kind of a drainage area here that goes down in there. And of course, that's sort of like a park here, so they keep the grass cut on the top. But as far as drainage ditch maintenance? No. Okay, so we're going to look here at the confluence of the two canals. We're on the other side here. And over here, you really can't see it, but that's the main A canal, which is also totally overgrown down in there. And here's your double A canal, which is going down right there, that kind of a bend. That's where it bends and meets the main A. And you can see that down here, something drove down here for a while because it's still being there. But the point is that the maintenance is not there, especially on the other side of this bridge going up towards Colonial Gables. The other side of the bridge here is Colonial Oaks, which doesn't lose as many houses because it's up pretty high as Colonial Gables does. That was built a long time before Colonial Oaks. And of course back then the Colonial Oaks and Colonial Gables were all the same developer. And then there was supposed to be a bridge over to the park that's across the street. It was on the county plan for a long time and never got built. So, but there is a bridge here, but you just can't get to the park that's over there for kids to play in. So it seems to have, it's supposed to be part of Colonial Gables, and it's not. And I don't know what goes on down here, but obviously people go down here. And then you've got this whole area, which is again meant to flood, meant to have water back up into it, which it does. They're keeping this clear as if it's a public park or something. And this is actually an area meant for water to back into. And it was a requirement to, as part of the plan that they had a while back, to actually keep the whole area from flooding. Now I don't know, it's a four-wheeler track or something, but it certainly is something I wonder about. I don't know what that sign says down there. It's a nice area since we're in a drought, but they're mowing the bottom of a pond here, which normally 20 years ago, this pond year-round, this was a pond. This is what they're not understanding in Sarasota County, is that we're in a drought. And when this drought breaks, it's going to break big. It's not going to break small. Probably won't happen yet this year, but nevertheless, it is something that needs to be paid attention to. And next we're going to go over and we're going to kind of look. This is for, I'm taking this mostly for Dr. Goodnight, who used to be the Director of Transportation and then was instrumental in the development or the acceptance of the fact that the county needed to pay more attention to how it controls its runoff water. And anyhow, that was during his time here, and then eventually the stormwater department was very independent from everything else, and while these projects were going on, and they separated it from other departments. It was more or less more independent in its budgeting and everything else. And then at some point a few years later, they thought it was a good idea, I think, from the feedback that I got, that now it's back to a part of the transportation department rather than its own department. So we're going to go around the corner here, and we're going to look at the other side of the interstate, because that's what was supposed to really be working to protect Colonial Gables in particular. As we turn here, and we're going to go over a bridge that is the main A, and from underneath this bridge the water runs under Interstate 75. That's a critical area to be able to take all the water from the other side of the interstate through and past this area using this main A canal. Okay, you're just going to get a glimpse of the main A here as we go over it. Right there you'd see the main A, which is again totally overgrown. That was Cattleman Road we were on, or turned onto. Okay, now we're going to go underneath the interstate here. And we're going to come out on, I guess, Richardson Road, right in that area. You'll notice that the interstate is up very high. The ground level in Colonial Gables is about 16 feet above sea level, and that's probably close to 25 feet above sea level. So the interstate itself blocks all the sheet flow from everything east of the interstate. So it's dependent on draining the area east of the interstate under the bridge through the main A canal. And of course, about 2 years ago during a rainstorm here, brand new houses east of the interstate flooded. And of course they said, well, one of the dams broke, and that's bogus. This entire area from under the interstate here, as soon as I went under the interstate, I have videos of it, was inundated during that storm across the road here. And this is the area we're going to drive into that is supposed to be like a sump, a managed sump for stormwater runoff. And what they've done is they've let, like this roundabout here was never there, and there's a whole industrial development to our right, and now they put in a turn circle here so that people can smash their cars up more effectively. And we're going to go around here. This is the Celery Fields drainage project, where they made huge, and it also goes way off to the right there too. And it's supposed to have all these things are supposed to be controlled, where there's things they can open and close all over this area to maintain and manage runoff water. I don't have the impression that anybody living now knows how to manage the water as the controls were expected to work, and especially that lately this was all a huge open area with great big lakes that were man-made, again to hold water back from Sarasota. And what they've done is simply unbelievable in this whole area. This is all new construction around the celery fields, and they've taken all this. See, now this is a big ditch on our right that's part of that control structure, and I do believe that this is a weir here that we're going to be passing. Right there, that's one of the control structures. And they built all around the control structures. And there's just a mass of houses here. So this all new construction in this whole area that surrounds the entire control structures that were put in place. So here I'm going to take you around the turn circle. To the right is the control structure, and then there's a big mound there. That was the dirt that they took out of this area to help make enough capacity. So that's for flooding. And now we have a shopping center. You know, and the point of the 100-year flood, which people don't realize, is that is during a 24-hour period. So basically, this is meant to keep water control for 24 hours to meet the 100-year reasonably expected storm. And that's the other thing about the 100-year event, is it used to be called the event of reasonable expectancy. So anyhow, what we have is a shopping center, all sorts of housing. This is all area earmarked for different types of control of flooding. And now there's your mountain of dirt over there that was put there to preserve and to create a lake system in here for management. So this lake system overtopped itself a couple years ago, and the area south, we're walking south now, that area south from here, the roads were all impassable. And we have this entire area here as one of the control structures. And then you can see over there, this is a canal sort of here. There's your displaced dirt mound up there. And there's miles of control here that is meant to keep the water on the other side of the interstate from flooding Sarasota. There's the lake system there. Again, different levels. You might be able to see of retention. Which in the middle of a drought really ought to be dry. All right, so in my mind, right now, considering that we've been in a drought, this area somehow should be lower in its water level. I mean, there's not a lot of capacity. If your lakes are full, they look pretty, but they have control structures here. I would have thought that this is something that you could have lowered the levels of. Especially right now, we've got a low pressure area that's forecast not to flood us badly, but to stay over Sarasota for 2 to 3 days with a minor amount of, significant but minor, amount of rain is what's forecasted. The one in 92 stopped. It stalled out over Sarasota, and your 100-year flood elevation was met during the first day. And that's something people don't realize, that, you know, again, the 100-year event is a marker of what happens in 24 hours. And if in 24 hours you hit 11 inches in Sarasota of rain, then you've met the 100-year event. If it happens twice in the same year, that's your storm of exceptional. It's exceptional, in other words, to meet your 100-year event twice in 1 year, and that's what people don't understand. The 100-year event, why I disagree with the way that they look at this, because the 100-year event is a 24-hour event. Now, what happened in Sarasota that caused all the flooding in 1992 was 2 days of meeting the 100-year event. Now, when that happens, I'm sure they call it the 1,000-year event, or the 10,000-year event, or the millennium event, or something else that all the newscasters and all of the developers and all of the real estate people would think they know something about, and so they're going to, oh, that's way more than that. Well, in 92 we had 2 days, and both days hit at least 11 inches of rain per day. So here's the other problem about this. The 100-year event status it's a code to try to give some decent protection to reasonably expected rainstorms. It's not a code that excuses everybody from building things not to flood, or not to flood. And that's the rest of the misunderstanding of it all. The second day is what I would call the all hell breaks loose, and that's when all the storm system, which has been built to manage a 100-year event for 1 day, becomes full of water, and then everything at the same time overtops itself, and the next thing you know, you've got flooding through people's houses, on Philippi Creek and above Philippi Creek, and now you've got flooding, which you're going to have to expect if there's a 2-day event that met the basic 100-year criteria. If there's a 2-day event, you know, hell's going to break loose. And the more that they put things as they're developing now, the more that they are going to see structural flooding. So this area should have been left untouched to keep Sarasota there. And while we're at it, I'm going to tell you another story here. When we flooded, I received information from a well-known attorney who said that originally this area was part of what they called the Fruitville Drainage District, and a huge mass of land here was allowed for cattle to be grazed on, and they named, I think there was a family then, Vic Edwards, they named him as somebody who, for no money at all, could help keep that area clear. And this is in the 1940s. And it was supposed to have a covenant that said you could graze animals on it. And so he got deeded large tracts of land for grazing. And the covenant was that it was supposed to remain an area to protect Sarasota from flooding. And I think the Corps of Engineers was involved in the original Main A construction back then. And what happened, according to what I got from an attorney here, was that when Sarasota County annexed Fruitville, the Fruitville Drainage District became part of Sarasota County's drainage district, and somewhere along the line, the paperwork for this huge, that showed that this was supposed to be an area where animals grazed, was then not around anymore. Nobody seemed to know about it anymore, and nobody could find it. And I've got another letter from an old attorney that was alive back there that said he saw that. He knew it was there somewhere, but he couldn't find it anymore either. And what happened is that huge tract of land suddenly got divided up, and the covenants on the deed that should have transferred as they partitioned it all off didn't get transferred. And somebody became very, very rich, or many people became very, very rich on land that was not even paid for by somebody. It was given to someone. So this whole thing is a disaster now that's 80 years old. And I'm going to show you the rest of the construction around in the area that was originally meant to be flooded deliberately to keep Sarasota, the city, safe in flooding. And since we're in almost a 20-year drought, let me push a button here. Since we're in almost a 20-year drought, nobody's aware of any of this any longer. But someday, maybe when I'm dead, Sarasota is going to experience another huge loss of function. And just to let you know, it won't be during a hurricane. It will be when a front stalls out over Sarasota. And now I'm watching the fronts that stall out over Texas, and it's a 1,000-year event. Flooding is a 1,000-year event. And it's like, no, it's not. It's become a 1,000-year event because you put 1,000 people in the floodplain that shouldn't be there, or now thousands of people in the floodplain that shouldn't be there. So basically it's the onus is on developers, real estate people to not understand, that don't understand anything about selling and building houses and putting, and county commissioners, generations of them, that don't know anything about what is a 100-year event or what is safe construction. Now here's the other side of the street in front of us, and you can see this area in particular that we're looking at now is what was originally gifted to Vic Edwards, a huge area of it, and for years is known to have flooded. And what we've got now is elevation of land being done here, a lot of fill being brought in, and as far as your eye can see, new construction in an area that was meant to be deliberately flooded as protection for Sarasota County itself. And that was before the interstate was built and you put a dam in between everything. And this, by the way, here is all basically all new construction. And there's tons of it everywhere you want to look. So they've displaced and thoroughly ignored the fact that this was the area that was supposed to flood years ago. and that there's control structures that were put in through this area that were built by the Army Corps of Engineers in the 40s. I'm going to go around the turn circle once so you can get the extent of what's going on here. It's all built up through this whole area. Of course, now we're on our way out to Lakewood Ranch, so all these pushy drivers that are the young, very important yuppie people, are all in a big hurry to take the back road here into Lakewood Ranch. They'll cut you off. There's not one of them that pays attention to a speed limit. They're some of the worst type of person that's come down here, always in a hurry, always driving, high accident rates. If you look over here real quickly, you'll even see some more construction, massive construction going on over there. See, we're on the north side of, or sorry, the east side of the interstate here, and it's all being filled in. Nobody's driving civilized. This entire area, all the way out to the end of Fruitville Road, all the way out to the end of Fruitville Road, on the north side of Fruitville Road, is all new construction. So in this area, again, you've taken tremendous amounts of land out of the ability to stop sheet flow, rearranged it by elevation of roads and new constructions, and people are going to be oh so surprised that their house flooded at some point because the weir broke, the dam broke. The dam was there to hold water back from people putting things into low-lying areas, and Florida's had that reputation of building in swamps for a long time. As a matter of fact, now they don't even talk about it. It's so long, it's been forgotten. But as you see, this is just one more disaster waiting to happen here. All new housing. What is this? Oh, Blue Lake Road. I'm sure it'll be blocked off somewhere here for people like me not to get in there. But again, a huge hydro project, a pushy driver pushing on my bumper. Everybody's in a big hurry, and lots and lots and lots of new development here too. I wonder where this thing comes out at. Maybe I can get through. And here we go. We've got all this stuff here. You know, there's miles and miles of developments happened in the last couple of years. I guess this road will go through. Another shortcut I just found. All this development. So this is running, now we're running parallel to Fruitville Road. And one road north of it. And obviously this area used to sheet flow in the direction of Fruitville Road. Now, mind you, it's going to take quite a storm, but it's only a matter of time before these storms finally tell you what the reality is here. So this is huge development of, you know, huge areas of development, we'll put it that way. We're still going. I don't know where this thing comes out, but it comes out somewhere. Anyhow, as I believe it was Charlie Richards back in the day told me, that I was afraid of things that I don't understand. So I guess all these glorious people just figured that we could put 500,000 people in here and then play catch up with stormwater issues. And this is, again, I did this primarily for Dr. Goodnight, who I still communicate with on occasion. He's probably hasn't been here to see the amount of development that has happened in this area. A speed bump. Woo! Alright, let's see what this road is called. It doesn't go through, so I'm not going through. Supposed to stop here. One pushy driver just left from behind me, and guess what? A Jeep, looking like he's in the Army style Jeep. He's going to be behind me any second now. Windward of Lakewood Ranch. And once again, we're just seeing all the new houses. So anyone that thinks that the city of Sarasota and that area is a viable area any longer, hasn't been on the other side of the interstate, and keep the country, that's a fading hope by a lot of people that lived off of Fruitville Road. And now we're going to turn back towards Fruitville Road. Moraine Road, here we go. Alright, so now we're back in what used to be a very undeveloped area, which is your dividing line between Sarasota County and Manatee County. Zip down, encroaching subdivisions over there. Okay, so we're coming up here. We made it right over to, I guess this is Fruitville Road. Yes, it is, because there's no sign here telling me anything. But lots of traffic. A whole big line of traffic and construction everywhere. And people coming at a fairly high rate of speed. So now we're coming back towards the interstate down Fruitville Road. We're heading west. The area to our right, the north part, was supposed to be the drainage district, the Fruitville drainage district back in the 40s and early 50s. It became annexed by Sarasota. The thing is that right along the right of the road here is a great big canal. That was supposed to be the main control for flooding. You'll see right now it's just overgrown. And then in front of us was supposed to be also used to flood to protect the development of Sarasota. And now there's literally thousands of new homes where the covenant on the free land that was given to people to graze their cattle on, or animals in general, is now was lost in the transfer of Fruitville Drainage District to Sarasota. So now you got all this mess. And the thing is, these people are probably going to be safe. Their little houses are built up high enough by new standards so that they don't die in the flood. But the question is, there used to be whole areas of swamp here and an area designated all the way down to past where it used to be Store Cable. Now I guess it's Verizon or something. When you start to see miles of fill, just a lot of fill dirt being brought in. There's no concept any longer of taking how much dirt you need to take out of the ability to soak up a flood. And again, it's obvious that the whole area to the right was part of a flood control structure. And it's still there, right there. And Sarasota is now a zoo for driving in. You can see the size of that structure running along here. By that, on the other side of that fence.